codes verified. Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
Fly it, print it, display it. Break the mold and 3D print a one-of-a-kind starship. Your starship. With mixed dimensions. Right now, Priority 1 listeners can save 20% on all ships and sizes. Just use coupon code PRIORITY20. That's PRIORITY20 at checkout. Build your fleet and display it proudly.
You make this, or did they make this?
Hello, we made it. Hello,
Sorry.
Captains. And welcome to the live recording of episode 419 of Priority 1, a Roddenberry Star Trek podcast. We are live now, and we have a very special guest, as you already heard. Mike, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, of course. Happy to be here.
So yes, we made that game print promo, and
that's really dope, dude.
Thanks, appreciate it. Thank you. That was I recorded the audio, and then Anthony did most, if not all, of the magic to make that happen. So Anthony's away this weekend, captains, because he just had a baby. So congratulations to Anthony.
Congrats.
He will be gone for the next 2 weeks to take care of his. Oh, there he is in the chat. To take care of his wife and newborn and the rest of the kids. So we wish them the best. And Anthony, you are sort of missed.
just a little.
Just a little. And Kat, congratulations on having one show under your belt. You did a fantastic job last week. It was just phenomenal. So congrats.
Thanks.
Now we're throwing you into the lion's den, and we have not only a special guest, but a guest host joining us today.
Well, I'm sure it'll be a super fun time.
The good news is you are at least one episode more experienced at hosting this podcast than I am.
Like, small favors.
All right, so why don't we go ahead and jump right in and start this show from the top with our introduction. Okay. So I'm going to hit the big red button. Oh, actually, I'm first going to just to be on the safe side.
Oh, I probably should have done that.
What?
Hit the big red button.
Oh, not yet. I haven't started recording. But I'm
okay, good.
Driving on the ceiling. Everything.
So I'm going to hit the big red button to record our introduction track in 3, 2, 1. This is Elijah, intro sync 1.
This is Kat, intro sync 2.
This is Mike, intro sync 3.
Intro in 3, 2. Hello, Captains. You're listening to episode 419 of Priority 1, a Roddenberry Star Trek podcast. Your weekly report from the Star Trek multiverse. Recorded live on Tuesday, June 25th, 2019, and available for download or streaming on Friday, June 28th at PriorityOnePodcast.com. I'm Elijah.
And I'm Kat.
Well, Captains, Anthony is out on vacation for the next 2 weeks, but not to worry, because we've got the news covered. And joining us as our very special guest host this week is Star Trek Online's community manager, Ambassador Kael. Ambassador Kael, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Hey, thanks for having me. It is always a pleasure to be on this podcast. I never thought I'd be hosting it, but now I have absolute power. Hear me.
Well, it's a real pleasure to have you, and we're excited that you're joining us for this entire episode. But don't worry, Captains, we'll be talking about Star Trek Online news later on in the episode. In the meantime,
I would hope you would talk about Star Trek Online news with me here.
Right? I mean, really. All right, Kat, why don't you tell us what we've got to look forward to this week?
Well, this week we're checking out a big lead on short treks. Then Michelle Paradise discusses show running and writers' rooms, and Marina Sirtis talks Deanna Troi, then and now. In Star Trek Online and gaming news, the 2019 Ryzian Lolanaut Festival is around the corner. Rise of Discovery hits consoles, and Star Trek Fleet Command nabs a Star Trek alumni. And in our monthly Astrometrics report, Dr. Robert Hurt explores the rocky road traveled by the OSIRIS-REx mission to hopefully return a sample of an asteroid to Earth. Sorry, the dog is chewing on the phone. It's really loud. It's either that or barking. Sorry.
Chewing is better, probably.
Of course, as always, before we wrap up the show, we'll open hailing frequencies for your incoming messages.
But before we move forward, we want to remind you that on Tuesdays, we are now recording at 8 p.m. Eastern. We'll be recording right up until Mission Log Live starts their broadcast at 10 p.m. Eastern. So, if you haven't already watched us record live, it is so much different than when you download the show on Fridays.
For one thing, there's dog chewing.
Among other things.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. And if you haven't thought to, Priority One encourages you to open hailing frequencies. Reach out to us. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/PriorityOnePodcast. And we're on Twitter and Instagram at PriorityOnePod. You can even send us an email via incoming@PriorityOnePodcast.com. And all of those are with one spelled out, not the number.
Nice throwback. We do have to take a moment.
I thought I was just being helpful.
Oh, that's a throwback. That's an inside joke actually that we had going on for a while. That's one
really?
the number, not the. All right. That's one the word, not the number. Okay. Now we do need to take a moment to thank our patrons, because without their support, we would not be able to continue to produce the quality content that you've come to expect on Fridays here at Priority One Podcast. Because of them, we can continue to upgrade our equipment and digital tools that we use to help enhance the show from year to year. Also, it ensures that we can offer some incredible content from live events like Star Trek Las Vegas coming up in just 36 days as of this recording.
Ooh.
It's so close now.
I know.
I can see it.
No. Go ahead, Kat.
Oh, am I doing something crap? I just closed the document.
Quitter.
So, oh, sorry. Captains, we understand that a financial contribution may not be possible, but there are other ways you can help the show. We're looking for volunteers to join the production team. Should be a team in that?
You could.
We're looking for volunteers to join the production team. Specifically, we're looking for audio editors to help clean up a segment or two. We currently have a great team working hard each week, but many hands make light work. Shoot us an email to incoming@priorityonepodcast.com with audio editor in the subject line.
Now, let's check out the latest news from the Star Trek multiverse. Awesome. Everybody hit stop on their local tracks and save that as an MP3.
Yes. Folder for that.
I should have also said the... All right, so when you save it 44,100 hertz at 128 kilobits per second, please.
Okay.
Wow, we've got a lot of folks watching this week. We're so grateful to have you. We hope that you'll join us every Tuesday night while we talk about the news from the Star Trek multiverse and, of course, Star Trek Online. And if you're curious about, actually, you know what I didn't talk about with patrons? As I'm just making good radio while everybody's figuring out.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Please, radio away. We are all impressed by your radio prowess.
Oh, thanks, thank you. We've got what we've got going on Patreon is that we do actually a whole separate show dedicated just for our patrons. That we talk about generally anything that's geeky in nature. It doesn't also have to be Star Trek related. We recently were talking about what was going on E3, and then of course from time and again we have special guests join, or we separate interviews to provide early access to our patrons. So for instance, if we record an interview with Al Rivera on a Monday or a Saturday, that gets posted almost immediately. So yeah.
Does Al ever come on this podcast? I'm
Does
shocked.
he? I don't. Just some guy Riviera.
Al, just some guy Riviera. That's what we're calling him now. Now on.
We for Thomas in the chat, we record in high fidelity and then we code down for.
Ah.
Oh no, it's
Knew it.
It's falling apart.
Did you
Said-
drop your mic?
Well, no, just the pop filter this time, but the mic could go any second, so
Because you're
watch
only
out.
supposed to drop those after you say something really, like.
Yeah,
Very profound.
I'm not suave like that. Like I can't even get this thing to work.
What are you talking about? You host a Star Trek podcast, aren't you? Suavest?
This is the epitome of suave.
This is the coolest thing anyone's ever done. We certainly wouldn't get beat up on the playground for this.
Definitely not. This did not work. Hold on. Bits are hard.
Facebook is telling me to say something, so Priority One, a Roddenberry Star Trek podcast, knows that I'm here. I think
Oh,
they know.
interesting. Hello.
I'm pretty sure they're aware.
So, Mike, how did I heard that you wore the Priority One, your Priority One T-shirt during the last live stream. Nice.
I did, yeah. There was I have a pile of specifically Star Trek related T-shirts in my closet for Wednesdays, and so Priority One was on top. Great, perfect.
Uh-oh.
Alright.
It's all right. That's okay.
We're good. We're good. I could do this.
I believe in you. Your dog believes in you.
Seriously.
What
it's
is that?
really
What does the
annoying.
other end of the thing look like?
What? It's
Is it
like
a
a
clamp?
yeah, it's like a clampy thing.
Yeah.
I don't.
It's like the one I've got at home, only it's color coded with your microphone.
Son of a bitch. Oops, sorry. Not supposed to curse, but.
Oh,
dude.
good to know. I was gonna ask that question.
Well, I
All
mean,
right.
we try to keep it PG or so, roughly.
Okay. I was gonna say if you go PG-13, I get one F-bomb for each podcast.
That's true. You can. We go PG-13, but you got to save it towards the end.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, I think I'm sorted.
All right. Let's do Trek It Out, and let's talk about some of the what's going on in Star Trek news. I'm going to hit the button on a brand new track in 3, 2, 1. This is Elijah. Trek It Out, Sync 1.
This is Kat. Check it out. Sync 2.
This is Mike. Trek It Out, Sync 3.
Trek It Out in 3, 2. If you thought Rebecca Romaine's time as number 1 wasn't long enough, or that Ethan Peck met the tall order of playing Spock, and you wanted more, then you may be happy to hear that they're likely getting their own short trek. On May 30th, writer, producer, director Mark Pellington posted on Instagram. On May 30th, writer, director, producer Mark Pellington posted an Instagram photo of a Star Trek Discovery director's clapboard with the title Chaos Theory, along with the message, quote, "Goodbye, Toronto. Thanks for an amazing crew and adventure," end quote. Pellington followed up with a second Instagram photo of himself on June 30th, flanked by Rebecca Romaine and Ethan Peck, posting, quote, "Romaine, Pellington, Peck. Shh. Trek shorts. Hashtag Shaban, hashtag Trek, hashtag," and a bunch of other hashtags, end quote.
Is that date right? Because it's not even June 30th yet.
He posted it from the future.
Posted it from the future.
Oh, hey. It could happen.
Okay, let me reread that. Pellington followed up with a second Instagram photo of himself, flanked by Rebecca Romaine and Ethan Peck, posting, quote, "Romaine, Pellington, Peck. Trek shorts." End quote. While the story brought to light by TrekMovie.com on June 23rd may not definitively verify a Spock #1 short trek, the evidence certainly points to more than likely. For a link to the Trek movie article, check out the show notes.
Oh God, Trek out.
Yeah, man, that's a trend. Hashtag trending. Come on, make a trend.
Are you trying to make fetch work right now? Oh.
So what do you guys think? A Spock #1 short trek?
Yes, I want that.
Mm-hmm. Put it in my brain. Put it in my brain right now.
Mm-hmm.
Please, immediately.
I loved Rebecca Romaine as #1. She was great.
And
She really... Go ahead, Em.
so criminally underused. Like, it was such a big stunt casting for them, and she was amazing at everything they had her do, but she was only in like 2 episodes.
Yeah.
I really would love to see more of that character. I mean, obviously, I was on the give us a Captain Pike show right now train.
Oh, absolutely.
Like everyone else in Star Trek. But I think the 3 of them together were a really good chemistry, and I'm really excited to see if this does turn out to be one of the short treks. I'm really excited to see what Romaine and Peck do together.
Yeah, I thought she was just great.
Yeah.
All right, Kat, why don't you take us to the next one?
On June 15th, Variety posted a drama panel discussion, A Night in the Writer's Room, which featured showrunners from some of entertainment's biggest programs, including Good Girls, The Walking Dead, Ozark, and Star Trek Discovery. Michelle Paradise represented... Wait, let me start that fresh. Michelle Paradise represented the CBS All Access science fiction franchise and had some interesting insight into Star Trek's writer's room. On the topic of how disagreements are handled, Paradise said, quote, "Sometimes on our show, we find that if someone has a reason for bumping so strongly on something, that there is something we really do need to look at. In sci-fi, you can have space and aliens and all sorts of things like that, but it always represents what's actually happening here and what's happening in society and what's happening Let me do that over. Lord, this is a long quote.
But it also represents.
It's a very writer quote.
But it always represents what's actually happening here and what's happening in society and what's happening culturally. And so if someone is really bumping on something, it may be that there is an angle that the rest of us in the room aren't quite seeing yet, end quote. On the difference between having a show written before filming and writing a show in the process of filming, Paradise reflected on her time on X's and O's, a show written before filming, and Star Trek Discovery, which writes during production, saying, quote, "It's just tricky. It just makes for a lot of balancing. We try to write as many episodes as we can, but inevitably you have to start shooting. And then inevitably, as you're doing that, time in the room slows down and you're trying to catch up and trying to keep ahead of the train that is coming, right for your face," end quote. If you're interested in Paradise's thoughts on writer's block, a saturated viewer market, toxic behavior in a writer's room, or just interested in the process of a television... Whoops. Or are just interested in the process of television show running, check out our link in the show notes.
You know, with so much going on right now politically and socio-politically, particularly in our country, I really would love for them to push the envelope even further in season 3 of Discovery or in the Picard series. I mean, you know, right now, one of the biggest things in the headlines right now is the topic of immigration. You know, how would the Federation handle refugees from another solar system, from another galaxy, from another quadrant? You know, what would the political ramifications be for the Federation, and how would they handle it? I mean, I would presume that they would handle it much like they did at the start of Generations, right? You have the Lorian refugee ship being caught in the ribbon, and they welcome them with open arms to save them. So I hope that in the upcoming series and episodes that we see, they push those themes a little stronger.
I think that is one of the things that I love the way Discovery has been doing serialized storytelling, like picking an arc and following it throughout the whole thing, the way so many people loved in Deep Space Nine. But I think that is one of the things that I miss about more episodic stories of people going from planet to planet and encountering a new story each week. So I think it made it a little easier to jump on those allegories quickly rather than having to have a build a whole season around them. But I love what she's saying here about, you know, having to make sure that sci-fi represents the current culture and what's happening in the world, because that's what's so important about stuff like Star Trek, especially Star Trek, and that it's always been a place to tackle the issues of the day by putting them in a metaphor so that it's easier for other people to understand.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, well said.
Thanks.
Hey, Mike, do me a favor before we continue.
Yeah.
On Zoom, on the window, do you see the little up arrow by the microphone?
Little up arrow by the microphone. Yep.
All right, click on audio settings, and then under the microphone, make sure that automatically adjust volume is unchecked.
Checking it now. Unchecking it now.
Cool.
Okay, cool. Is my levels just jumping up and down?
Yeah, they were jumping up and down a little bit.
Okay, cool.
All right.
I do want to say, in regards to her second quote, since we're still recording this bit, in regards to her second quote, that sounds a lot like game development. Just running ahead of the train that's coming right for your face. Oh.
I mean, it's got to be hard to like pick something up mid-stride and try and keep it, you know, it's hard to shift your attention if you're in the, you know, the writers can focus on the show, but like you've got to film it. So, you know, changes happen, and it's got to be a lot more challenging to film and write as you're in the middle of a production.
Yeah, and with you know, the way that like union rules work in Hollywood, which, you know, thank God they do, but I imagine if you need to make changes to the dialogue, you can't just do it on set the way you would in like an independent film where you're just like, oh, well, now it's in a bar instead of a club, so we have to change this line. You have to actually call the writer's room and say, you know, well, how do you want to rewrite this line so it makes sense for what we're actually going to shoot?
Yeah. Yeah, I
But
imagine
in
there's
gaming-
a lot of back and forth.
But in gaming, you don't necessarily have to worry about that because everything is done in-house. Because you mentioned how that sounds eerily familiar to what it's like in a gaming environment.
Yeah, that part of it we don't have to do. The part that I was referring to is more like if something, you know, like say Jesse, our content designer, is currently working on a mission for our next content update, which he actually is, so that's a good hypothetical. But then something comes down the horn that there's a major bug in something with Rise of Discovery or something like that. And as a senior content designer, he's the only one with the experience to go back and fix it. Then he has to kind of balance jumping, you know, we've got to get this thing designed because it's got to release on this date for these platforms. And we've got to get it into, you know, certification for Microsoft and Sony. But we've also got to fix this bug that's affecting live players, and like it's an eternal balancing act for everybody on the team on trying to figure out I think the train is a really good metaphor. How to get ahead of that train.
Sorry, I'm just adjusting some levels here. People were saying that it was a little hard to hear me. All right. Cool. All right, shall we jump into the next topic?
Sure. Here I go. On the day of this recording, June 25th, 2019, Marina Sirtis will make her West End debut in the comedy Dark Sublime. She spoke with digital... Well, there we go.
Welcome to the show.
I was all sitting here going, oh, I can do this, whatever.
It's tongue twisty.
I don't know. What did it do to die today in a minute or two to two? Okay. She spoke with Digital Spy about the production and, of course, Star Trek. Sirtis was active... Really mouth. That's what you're going with. Sirtis was asked about Star Trek Picard and her involvement with the production, to which she reiterated previous statements. Quote, "If they ask me, I would love to be in it. But I have to be honest, the phone hasn't rung yet, so I'm not holding my breath. But I'd love to do it as long as I don't have to wear that spacesuit again, because I've put on quite a bit of weight since then, and I don't fancy going to the fat farm to lose it all again." End quote.
Sorry.
Oh, man.
What is happening over there?
Squeaky toy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Have fun with that, Daniel. Daniel's our intrepid audio editor for Trek It Out.
We love you, Daniel.
Sorry.
On the possibility of her own Troy spinoff, Sirtis replied, quote, "To be honest, I don't think there's ever going to be a Troy spinoff. I don't think that's going to happen. The reason I'd love to do it is not just because I'd like to resuscitate Troy, because I've actually played her. As far as an acting challenge goes, it's not one, really. I've played her for so long. But I'd just love to work with my mates again, because that was the best time of my life." End quote. When asked who she would cast as Troy, Sirtis told Digital Spy, quote, "I think Mila Kunis would make a good Deanna Troi. I think she's a lovely actress. She's got the right kind of look, and that wouldn't be too much of a stretch for her to play that part." End quote. For links, check out the show notes.
Oh, man. Mila Kunis, I think, would actually play an amazing young Marina Deanna Troi kind of thing, right?
I think she would if they were doing... because like kind of with the JJ Treks, how they kind of took these characters and were like made them sort of the avatar of themselves, like more what the characters became than what they are they necessarily were in their first appearances.
Right.
And I think you're right. I think she would do a really good version of like the kind of Troy Marina Sirtis always wished she could play.
Yeah. Kat, how are the dogs there, Kat?
Annoying. Sorry. I can put him outside.
My cat does the same thing. If you lock him out of the bedroom, he just scratches at the door and whines all night.
Yeah, mine does that too.
All right, I'll read this Star Trek history.
Oh, are we doing the community question? Or
Oh,
no?
yeah. Go ahead and you ask it. Actually, I will do it and then read it, and then you can read This Week in Trek History.
Okay.
Well, that brings us to our first community question this week. If you could reboot Star Trek The Next Generation, what would be your dream cast? Let us know in the comments section for this episode over at PriorityOnePodcast.com or by simply replying to our social media posts asking this very same question.
Is it cheating to say Patrick Stewart, Brent Steiner, Jonathan Frakes, Marina Sirtis, Michael Dorn?
Oh my God, get out of my head, because I was like, I would cast Patrick Stewart. Although maybe people would say, who's the guy that plays Sheldon Cooper? He can maybe play Data.
Oh. Sorry, my dislike for Big Bang Theory is showing.
Yeah, he's a good actor, though.
That's true.
I forget his name. Jim Parsons.
Jim
There you
Parsons.
He's sort of mechanical, or at least can play it. All right, this week in Star Trek history. This week in Star Trek history, we travel to the year 1991 to watch Mr. Robot gleam the cube in a Will Scarlet red uniform
How
On
proud are you of that sentence, Elio? How proud are you of that sentence?
It's
Are you,
pretty
are you
good.
super proud?
Yeah.
I loved Gleam the Cube. Oh, Lord. On June 21st, 1991, Christian Michael Leonard Hawkins got his Star Trek break filming as an unnamed Excelsior communications officer in Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. Then, the then 21-year-old actor, a lifelong Trekkie, got the part thanks to his mother, casting director Mary Jo Slater, and was better known by his stage name, Christian Slater. Despite this being his first on-screen role with the franchise, Slater had connections to Star Trek prior to the cameo. Slater's godfather, Michael Zaslow, played Science Officer Darnell, the first dead crewman in Star Trek history. Zaslow later had a role in
Take it back to
the
Zaslow. Later.
Zaslow later had a role in the original series' second episode, Mud's Women. Early in his career, Slater teased an interviewer that his signature eyebrows were due to the fact that he had shaved them to look like Mr. Spock and that they hadn't been right since. The actor admitted later, though, that he regretted the joke, saying people still ask him about the Halloween costume gone bad. In regards to The Undiscovered Country, Slater's credit, unnamed Excelsior communications officer, was the same credit given to former Star Trek yeoman Grace Lee Whitney, and in the novelization of the film, Slater's would-be scene was given to Whitney's character. In a 2017 interview with Graham Norton, Slater talked about his time on set and admitted to stealing the uniform he wore in his scene, quote, "I stole the costume, by the way. I have it in a box somewhere. It was William Shatner's costume from Star Trek II, actually," end quote.
I think Slater speaks for all of us.
That's true.
Oh, I loved him in Undiscovered Country. He's opening, knocks on Sulu's door or whatever. Captain. It's so good.
Yeah.
Well, Captains, that's all the news we have to trek out this week. Now, let's find out what happened in the world of Star Trek gaming. All right, hit stop, everybody, and save your time.
Stopping the recording. Saving it. Yes. This is...
So, I think somebody's either messaging us on the messenger or I don't know. I'm not sure, but unfortunately, if you're trying to send us a direct message on Facebook right now, all hands are currently working on this live broadcast recording, so we'll have to get to you later. Thanks for your patience. Really much
I think
appreciated.
Bill is actually referring to the official Star Trek Online Facebook.
Ah, okay.
In which case, he is probably correct. I probably haven't responded to his individual Facebook message. We get a ton of those.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
I'm shocked.
A ton?
So,
Well, I was only expecting a few a day.
I did create a form response a number of years ago that instructs people if they have a bug or something to go to support, and otherwise to hit up our forums. And please do that because people there can help you.
Over on Twitter, Trek Fan Girl wants to know what's your preferred name for the Discovery Connie. Is it Disco Prize?
What, you don't think the Miracle Worker Flight Deck Cruiser is the right name? I've been going with Discovery Era Constitution class, but I think Disco Prize is perfectly fine as well.
You see, I'm disappointed in your naming conventions. I would have liked Disco Prize or well, you stumbled on your word there a second. I thought you were going to say you named it Error.
You think if we named it anything with prize in the name, with all the lockbox hate that got hurled our way last week, that would have gone well?
Yeah. All right, now let's jump into Star Trek Online news with our very special guest. I am going to hit the... Everybody ready? Anybody need a second?
I am ready.
I am ready.
All right. Hey, Kat, just out of curiosity, can the dog collars not jangle?
Possibly, if they quit moving around. Hold, please.
All right. It's just like normally it's not like, we've had people, we've had hosts with animals before, but it sounds like Kat has jingle bells on her dogs. So
What Elio's actually asking is, do you have any chloroform you could use on your dogs for the next?
That is not at all what I am saying or suggesting. Shh, don't use my real name. I go by Elijah when I'm online.
I'm sorry, my bad.
What?
I didn't know
Nobody
that was
knows-
the distinction.
Nobody knows my real name.
My bad. I'll go with Elijah from now on, which I honestly thought was just the full name that the other name was a nickname for.
No, oh gee, no. Elio is a heartily Cuban name.
That makes way more sense.
But because I find it, well, for my gamer tag was always something Elijah or like Elijah something. I just liked the name and I pulled it out. There was a biblical reference I pulled it out of and all that jazz, and it just stuck. And then I figured, well, if I'm gonna host a show, it's kind of like Oscar Isaacs, you know. I'm just gonna change it a little bit.
Duncan Idaho says that the next segment is just me going, and now the STO news. We don't talk about upcoming content. Good night, folks.
Well played.
I love Duncan, Idaho. That's great.
He's one of my favorite fans.
I love his name.
His have you ever seen his tardigrade doodles? They are the
is that
best.
I
him?
did.
those are
I did
awesome.
see those. Those are fantastic.
And he needs to make a children's book already. He keeps saying he's
Yeah.
doing it, and that he's not. I don't see a full children's book on my desk. So
Duncan, seriously, like not to be funny, but that's how one of the writers got to do Rick and Morty, right? They wrote the unfinished season or the season 8 of TNG, and it was just a bunch of like satirical, funny tweets. But that, stuff like that, man, it certainly gets you noticed. So those are
you
great.
gotta draft that book together and send it to CBS licensing. I guarantee they'll be like, well, I mean, it's already done. Let's just take his money to make his book.
All right, let's jump into Stowe News, shall we?
All right.
I'm going to hit the big red button in 3, 2, 1. This is Elijah, Stowe News, Sync 1.
This is Cat. Oh, sorry. Hold on.
Oh, all right, everybody hit stop. And
Oh.
stop and clear your dicks. Start a new one.
Clear my what?
Your dick.
Clear my what?
Your
What?
Dick. Clear your dicks. Please tell me you know what video I'm
I thought
talking
this
about.
was a family show, sir.
Please tell me you know what video I'm talking about. Have you seen the deck finisher
Lord.
video from it's a parody on New Zealanders and how they say deck, a deck. And so I'm going to send you that link. I can't share it with everybody, but it's hilarious.
That sounds amazing.
Okay, let's try this again.
All right, I'm going to hit the big red button in 3, 2, 1. This is Elijah, Star Trek Online News, Sync 1.
This is Cat, Star Trek Online News, Sync 2.
This is Mike, Star Trek Online News Sync 3.
I forgot what we were doing. Okay. Star Trek Online News in 3, 2. It's been a long winter. The cold, the snow, the bloodthirsty enemies trying to mercilessly tear you limb from limb. But fret not, intrepid starship captains, because it's time to relax. It's time for Rice's annual Lolonaut Festival. That's right. Starting July 2nd and running through August 15th, you'll be able to hit the soft sand beaches of Risa to collect Lolonaut favors and prize vouchers for the year 2019. And you'll be able to play whether you're on PC, PlayStation 4, or Xbox One. This year's festival is jam-packed with new items, including new baseball uniforms, floaters, and you know what? I gotta pause here a second. Can we get a new name for floaters, please? Can we rename that?
Seriously, we couldn't call them jetpacks.
Right.
We must not have been able to. There must have been some reason. Obviously, this was like, years ago before I joined the company, but I cannot imagine why they went with floaters instead of jetpacks. But that is their name now and forevermore, because I imagine the data changes to make that name change would keep Jet busy for like 2 weeks.
This year, the festival is jam-packed with new items, including new baseball uniforms, floaters, and power boards featuring the Bozeman Titans and Deneb 5 Slime Devils. Oh, team design. There's another part of that sentence. Featuring the Bozeman Titans and Deneb 5 Slime Devils team designs. Discovery-inspired food consumables like chippers for sipping on the beach. Sport-inspired audio space emotes. A baseball ground device. And the all-new team-themed vanity shields, which feature the colors of your favorite Star Trek baseball teams. You're also warned. You're also warned to keep your food store safe, lest you breed a new species of baseball tribble. To purchase these new items, you'll need Lolonut favors, and to obtain said Lolonut favors, you'll need to powerboard race, compete. You'll need to powerboard race, compete in the biathlon, Horgon hunt, scavenge with Sovok, and do the snake at the party dance. At the dance party, please. And do the snake at the dance party. Come on, ride the snake. Please tell me somebody knows ride the snake. It was, I have no idea.
I expected you to do an impression of Maria doing "Do the snake," and you went instantly creepy instead.
I think it's an old In Living Color. I'm pretty sure it's an old In Living Color skit with Jim Carrey, and if it's not in Living Color, it was a guest host that he did on SNL. Look it up. YouTube that. The real prize, though, is the upgraded Tier 6 Rycian Corvette. As of this recording, no stats have been released, but the Rycian Lolonaut Festival blog teases that the upgrade ship will be speedy and, quote, include a brand new ship-related feature that we're excited to reveal, end quote.
And we're very excited to reveal that. Not on this podcast.
Oh, sad panda, sad panda.
I'm sorry. I feel bad, too, because this is going out on Friday. And I think we're teasing that feature for the first time on Sunday before the stats get released on, I think, Monday. So you're just like 3 days early.
Bummer.
Ah, shucks. Well,
I'm excited about it, whatever it is.
I will say, here's what I'll say. I'll say exactly what we're going to say on Twitter on Sunday, which is that the things we want in life are ephemeral and often fleeting.
So is that a hint? Is that what it is? It's like a...
Is it?
Are you being cryptic?
I'm always cryptic. That's what I do, Elijah. Well, so that opening paragraph, was that your audition to voice act an STO?
Look, man, if I had my SAG, I would totally be auditioning to...
If you had your SAG card, I think you would probably already be in the game. I think one of the times that you guys had come here, we would have just been like, and now step in front of this microphone and say these words.
Well, we had done that. You know what? Let's save that for the end of Stone News, because that did happen once. It was before your time, before you started there.
Way back in the day.
Way back in the day, the dark times. All right, let me read this community question. Well, how about this? Can you say anything about the design of the ship and what was kind of like the visual design? Because that's
I mean, I think the original Rising Corvette.
Let me rephrase the question. So, Mike, obviously you can't share the stats with us, but what can you tell us about the visual design? We saw the new aesthetic and design posted and teased. What can you share with us?
Well, I think the original Rycian Corvette was designed to be a space hot rod. You know, it's the kind of thing that you can imagine yourself blasting some classic rock and roll while you're flying through space, turning the speed up to 11. I think the new one, Thomas really wanted to continue on that design aesthetic. And so what he did was he kind of cleaned it up. This is giving away an answer to a question he put on Twitter, but he put the tail lights from an old muscle car on the front of the ship. And he kind of gave it that whole, he gave it this very clean, very aerodynamic aesthetic. And I've flown it a little bit today, actually, to get some images and videos of it. And it's a fast ship, you guys. It's a very fast ship.
Awesome.
So
awesome.
is that the Easter Is that the Easter egg he was talking about? It was.
That is the Easter egg he was talking about. Yeah, I've given it away. I'm sorry, Thomas, but by the time this episode airs, you'll have asked it like 4 or 5 days ago. It is the front of the. I assume they're the nacelles on the ship. Those are the tail lights from a muscle car. I don't remember what model of muscle car. He excitedly called me over to his desk the other day to tell me.
And because you had no idea what he was talking about, you gave him a nice pat on the back and said, "Good job, buddy." And then walked away.
Good job, Thomas. Back to work.
Well, that brings us to our next community question for this episode. What are you looking forward to most? What are you most looking forward to earning during the 2019 Ryson Lolunat Festival?
Can I answer a community question?
Sure thing.
I really want those vanity shields. They are so pretty, especially the Bozeman Titans one, that black and gold. I tried it out on my Motzla today, and just, it's so pretty. It's so pretty.
I wonder how that would look as a 3D printed ship.
That's a good question. I might have to look into that.
All right, Kat, go ahead.
Console captains, your wait for Star Trek Online's latest expansion, Rise of Discovery, is finally over. Hold on, I need wine. We've reached that part of the show.
It is the best part of the show.
Launching June 25th on Xbox One and PlayStation 4, console captains can play 2 new featured episodes starring Star Trek Discovery's Jason Isaacs as Captain Gabriel Lorca and Rekha Sharma as Commander Ellen Landry in The Plausibility of the Possible and Impossibility of Reason. I should start that over. I will start that over.
Actually, you know what? Can you take it from the top? Take it from the top here, from console captains. Take it from there.
Console captains, your wait for Star Trek Online's latest expansion, Rise of Discovery, is finally over. Launching June 25th on Xbox One and PlayStation 4, console captains can play 2 new featured episodes starring Star Trek Discovery's Jason Isaacs as Captain Gabriel Lorca and Rekha Sharma as Commander Ellen Landry. In The Plausibility of the Possible and Impossibility of Reason, you'll aid the Buran and her crew in a fight against Ja'ula of House Mokai's forces, both in space and on frozen Pryor's world. Captains will also have access to the Discovery Legends reputation, unlock new traits and equipment, including Burnham's armor and the Disruptor wide-angle dual-heavy beam bank using Discovery Legend marks and P-Stellivatory spore canisters. Earn those by playing Discovery Task Force operations. Okay.
Now I want to hear your best Andre impression here.
Has anybody heard Andre speak?
Yeah, he's been on the stream twice.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, but no, it's okay. I was kidding. Don't actually try it. 'Cause
I'm like, I'm terrible at impressions. What? In a blog post on Star Trek Online's news page, executive producer Andre Emerson said, quote, "We've been running parallel to a Star Trek TV show for the first time in our history, and Rise of Discovery tells the story of a pivotal moment in the lives of both Gabriel Lorca and Ellen Landry. You'll get to experience the events that brought them both to the first episode of Star Trek Discovery, and you'll get to be a part of the story alongside them." End quote.
So, Mike, now that we've got you, let's talk a little bit about this summer. Let's talk about this, the Rise of Discovery coming to console. My first question is with console-related content. Over the course of the last several months, it looks like you guys have been closing the gap between what's been published on PC and what's coming out on console. Is that happening? Is the gap coming a little closer? I remember there being a buffer period between the time that you could release stuff on console.
This was during the Zenkethi arc, so maybe a little more than a year ago. I know our team at the time were working really hard to bring console and PC as close as they can conceivably be without being right up against each other. I still think I think there's always going to be a little bit of a buffer. For one reason we do that is because of the certification process on Microsoft and Sony. We have to have something locked to send to them, and because of the size of our QA team, who all work super freaking hard, but as you guys well know, we don't always catch everything that comes to live on PC. There's always often some bugs that slip through with a new release, and so having that staggered release allows us to fix those bugs and get them into the build that goes to console for certification, so that when that goes live, hopefully, I won't say there are no bugs, but hopefully there's a fewer issues to deal with.
Nice. Now, we have a few questions coming in through the chat as we record this episode live on Tuesday night. And one of the questions was from our very own Salaknar.
Hey,
asking,
Salaknar.
Hey, Mark.
I thought it was... Okay.
Well,
I've been saying Salaknar all this time. My bad.
Maybe. Why did the sandcastles get removed from the rotation this year?
To be perfectly honest, did not know they'd been removed until this moment. So that may be an oversight in the blog. It might be something that Jeremy forgot to mention when he was writing that blog up, or it might be something that was removed for a technical reason. What I can say is when I go downstairs right after this podcast, I will ask people and find out.
I like building sandcastles. That part's fun.
And we have a question from our very own Shane Hoover asking that you mentioned that there are some other projects, things in the game development that are branching out. What might this be about? Is this something you can share of what kind of projects are branching outside of the game? If at all?
I'm unsure what he's referring to. It may be something that I said.
Way to go, Shane. You just threw me under the bus. I appreciate it.
It may have been something I said earlier in the podcast, and it may have just been weird wording on my part. Can you read me the question?
How about
exactly what he said?
Okay, what areas of the game development has he been branching out into beyond community management? He mentioned doing some other project. Oh, I see. Okay,
that's the question. Oh, that's he's asking about. Thank you for giving me that very leading question. In that case,
let me go ahead. Let me give you that leading question here. So, Mike, you've been teasing that you've been working beyond your role as community manager. What is it that you've got on the whiteboard?
Well, one of the great things about Star Trek Online and about Cryptic in general is that as a company, they really do want you to learn more skills as you go. They don't want you to just sorry, I had no idea you were vaping right now, and so I just looked at the screen and saw all this smoke pouring out of your face. It's just like, oh my god! All right, sorry. Let me go back.
He's on fire.
One of the great things about working at Cryptic and working on the Star Trek Online team is that they're very good about allowing people to grow their skill sets and learn new things. The amount of stuff that I've learned to do while working on Star Trek Online is amazing. I mean, I'm certainly not up to the skill level of a content designer now, but I do know how content design works. When I'm taking screenshots, I often have to place a character in an environment and set them to doing a specific animation so I can get the screenshot I want. So that's all been really cool. The really cool thing recently is that about, I should stop estimating times because I don't know them, but a little while ago, I started working also for Champions Online, which is Cryptic's oldest running game by a little bit. Star Trek followed them by a couple of months, I think. And they're a really, really cool team because, it's a smaller, a bit more agile team than other teams as go. And there we are just now releasing our first set of new playable mission content in a very long while. And I actually had the opportunity to not design is the wrong word, but to come up with the basic story of all of these missions and to write all the dialogue for them. And so the first set that's coming out is called Death Rattle, and it will be my first piece ever of published video game writing, and I'm very excited about it. It's a really cool concept that me and Jay Turner, who is the writer for our upcoming Magic game, and Stephen D'Angelo, who is our CEO, and Kaiserin from the Champions team, all kind of sat down together and worked on. We kind of went from a very basic idea of, well, this is the enemy type we'd probably like to do. How could we go from there to the mission that's now live on their public test server, which is the first of a set of 4 that will be coming out regularly over the next couple of weeks. So this first arc is called Death Rattle, and then there will be at least, I think, 3 more arcs that tell an overall story from beginning to end that we'll be dropping the first teases to in, I believe, episode 2. You start to see some of the clues to where this might be heading. And so it's really cool. It's a really exciting opportunity for me. I've gotten to write story blogs for Star Trek Online before, which has also been fantastic because I've gotten to write semi-official fan fiction for characters like Kira that I love. But this is my first actual published video game writing, and I'm really excited about it.
Nice. My congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So
Can we ask something else about Risa, or did you want to ask about the writing thing, Elijah?
No. Go ahead. No, Kat. Go ahead.
I wanted to know more about the lighting changes that we're going to see on Risa.
So there's a funny story behind this. You guys have, Elijah at least has met our new art director, and I say new, but he's been on the game for more than a year now, Bill Yates, who's a fantastic guy. And one of his big passions is he knows that our game is older, but he wants to make it look the best it possibly can at all times. And so somebody brought up the fact that when we went to Lighting 2.0, we had to lose the day-night cycle on Risa, and that we'd bandied back and forth all of these ideas on how to get somewhere. Maybe the map, maybe there's 2 versions of the map, one that's day and one that's night, and it's random which one you go to. Maybe there's there's something we can do technically that'll allow us to change the sky file over time. But Bill took a look at the map as a part of that discussion and literally just said, well, here's 5 things you can change. And I don't know if it was 5. I'm pulling that number out of my butt. But here's some things you can change right now that will just make the map look better and more modern and more exciting. And so he sat down with our lead environment artist, Scott Boyd, and the 2 of them worked really hard on it. And they made a bunch of changes that Scott finished on Friday, and those are the changes you see on Tribble right now. So that's the permanent sunset that it's got going on now, which is really, really nice. I don't know if it has the sun lens flares on Tribble. If you look at the sun, as it goes back and forth in front of buildings, you get some really cool lens flare effects that I am really fond of. I know he made some changes to our really old sand. Risa used to have this sand that had these permanent waves in it. And now it just looks like beach sand. But then they went through and did some changes, another round of feedback on that. And I know they've made some more changes. The current one on Tribble, only a certain part of the sky is sunset and everything else is kind of dark and looks stormy. The version that we've got here, which is the version that'll be going out with the summer event, is super beautiful multicolored sunset all the way through the sky, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And it was a lot of hard work in a very short period of time, but it really makes the map feel new and different and exciting again.
I can't wait. I saw some screenshots that Mark Salinkar posted from Tribble, and it just looked great.
It's really, really pretty. I sometimes on Twitter and Facebook, I'll share a GIF of something in the game. But with this one, it was like everything that I was doing to try and make a GIF that was small enough for Twitter was so screwing up how good this map looked that finally I was like, screw it, we're making a video. I'm going to add some Calypso music to this, and we're throwing it up. So look for that next week. Or actually later this week, maybe.
Nice. Now, when doing these summer events, what kind of, or any event, any seasonal event, What is the goal, right? What is your target? Is it to get players back into the game to earn a ship? Are you trying to introduce perhaps a new game, a new mechanic? What's the thought process there?
So, I think for any video game that works as a quote unquote live service, which is, MMOs like Star Trek Online and World of Warcraft, or those, world shooters that are coming out lately like Destiny and Anthem, I think the goal is to get players to want to spend time in your game. And events are a very good way of doing it. It's why we started doing these featured TFOs. And it's certainly the idea around the summer event. And the reason that you make, new rewards every year and new exciting rewards is because then players will log in on a regular basis to experience content that we hope is fun, but also to work towards the reward. And sometimes that works really well. If you have something like, Operation Riposte, everyone seemed to pretty much enjoy. So they were okay with playing that, 14 times in a row to get their reward. Sometimes, we did that reskin of Draenor Gauntlet, or Draenor, however you pronounce that. And that wasn't as fun for people. They still played to get their reward, but there was a lot of like, well, I can't believe I have to do this 14 times, grumble, grumble, which we understand. And so the balance you're always trying to strike is what content can you make that has good enough rewards, that is fun enough for players to want to come in and spend time in your game.
Right. Kat, do you have any follow-up? Any questions you want to ask?
No. I'm sure something was going to occur to me much later, and then I'm going to be, Car says I should have asked that.
So we've got the Summer Ryson, right. So we got the Summer Rysa event coming up just in less than a week. What else can we look forward to coming down the pike in the summer and perhaps August at Vegas?
So August at Vegas, I know, I think I can say this much. We will be announcing our next big content update. And we also want to do a bit of a retrospective there on all of the discovery work that we've done so far, as we, maybe start to move back towards being in 2410 more permanently. We will be announcing the next actor to join the game. That he or she or they have already signed their contract. That's very exciting. But obviously I can't say anything about that right now other than they're coming. Blah, blah, blah. In terms of the rest of the summer, there is going to be some new some ships coming sometime in the next couple of months. Dog's very excited about that.
Definitely. I love new ships.
And I will say that ship bundle has some stuff people have been asking for in it. I'm excited to finally send down the pipe, which I actually teased on Twitter a while ago, and a lot of people thought I was trolling, but maybe I wasn't.
I hope it's Romulan ships.
I cannot confirm or deny your wild assertions, madam.
Well, I just hope it's Romulan ships. That's all I'm saying.
What about, speaking of STLV, any idea what the bridge officer rewards might be, if any convention exclusive items that you might be offering?
They're going to be discovery related, and I think that's literally all I know. It's all we've decided so far. I don't.
Please have my own Lorca, please.
We're trying to figure out, because Lorca's a good one. Landry's a good one. Tilly's a good one. I mean, for the past year, so many good people have joined the game that it's like, man, there's a lot of options. So maybe we'll do a pack like we did last year for Victory's Life, where there was like 4 of them. We are doing, I think I can say this, we're doing something with Star Trek Night with the San Francisco Giants. We'll be giving away some bridge officers there. So that's probably going to be a bit of a preview, because those will be new bridge officers if everything continues as I've been told.
Wait, what is this? Explain this to me.
I'm like calling on my friends in San Francisco. Please go to this thing. This
will be officially announced next week. The San Francisco Giants do a Star Trek night every year, and so they're doing one that's it's going to be a regular baseball game, but there's going to be lots of Star Trek themed things. I don't know how much they have or haven't announced about the event, so I don't want to give away too much other than they're doing it. But we're going to be partnering up with them at that event as well, and it's going to be fun.
Nice, very cool, very cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun. If nothing else, that ballpark has the best garlic fries in the universe.
I've not been to that ballpark, but the one in Arlington in Texas is pretty good. They have some killer nachos.
Clearly, we need to have a TV show that just goes to different baseball stadiums around the country and tries the food.
Didn't they have that?
world.
Yeah, because they have crazy food at that ballpark in Arlington. Like fried pickle dogs or something crazy. I don't know.
Maybe Guy Fieri did that show already.
Yeah,
Plus-
I wouldn't be surprised.
Plus 10 to gastronal pain.
At STLV, I think this was 2 years ago, because it was the first time I went to the Guy Fieri restaurant at the Rio, and the waiter came up to our table and just said in the most like my world is ending voice, "Welcome to Flavortown."
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Man, I had a good. Oh, so Mike, over the with the announcement of the Discovery era Enterprise Constitution class, there was a little bit of pushback from the community. Is that something you mind going into a little bit? What is Cryptic's approach to that, and response to that feedback?
So the main issue with something like this is I want to be as transparent as humanly possible. When we talk to our fans, I want to be transparent and open, because people are very upset about this particular issue, because a lot of people really, really wanted the Enterprise and the D7, and really, really wanted them to be in the C-Store. There's a lot of feeling that if I say anything other than what people exactly 100% want to hear, that I'm taking a corporate line, or that I'm, saying what my masters have told me to say. So it's hard to respond to that officially. I think the best thing I can say is what I said on Reddit, which was if there was a better way to release those ships, we would have done it, because we know how much people wanted those ships. We know how desirable it was. But when you're running a business and when you're running a free-to-play video game, you also have to consider all of the angles you need to consider in order to keep the lights on, pay your employees, all of that lovely stuff that we want to do so that Star Trek Online continues being as successful a game as it's been. We know how much money C-Store ships make. We could probably, and we did actually do an estimate of how much more that would be if it was the Discovery. And it's just not in the same class. Now, some of the numbers I've seen thrown around are wildly higher than the amount of money that we're making by fans. I mean, a lot of people have been posting their own ideas on how much we must be raking in from this promotion. It's not that much, you guys. If it was that much, this would be a very different game. So yeah, it's hard to say anything other than that. And I probably have already said too much. But yeah, we heard you guys as you said, when you make this ship, please put it in the C-Store. We heard that, and we've been having a lot of discussions internally. If not for this ship, maybe for other similar ships, or for other versions of highly desired ships, what we might be able to do in the future so that people can fly the ship they want without having to feel like they're spending a lot of money on R&D boxes. I will say I think STO has, and Cryptic in general has, one of the better free-to-play models in that aspect, in that at least you can still get the ship. And I know people are going to say, oh, it costs billions on the exchange, and it would take us months and months and years to save up for it, but the ship is still available to you, and it is still available to you for free if you want to get it that way. And there are other recommendations people are making. I've seen them on the forums and Reddit and Twitter and Facebook on ways to get your hands on the ship without ever opening an R&D pack. So it's possible. I know it's not the ideal solution. I know it's not what everybody wanted, but it is unfortunately the decision we had to make.
And of course, I mean, when it boils down to it, as a free-to-play game, that's a big ticket item that everybody wants to get. There has to be some sort of incentive for people to open up their wallets because there is a team of people developing the game. What about the decision to prevent the tier 6 token from... Oh, well, it's in the R&D pack, so I wasn't going to be able to... You wouldn't be able to get it. So,
we did always say... I know what you're going to ask. We did always say with the tier 6 tokens that they wouldn't work necessarily on the newest ships. However, those tokens, unless something has changed since we first launched this system, and I don't think it has, those tokens don't expire. And we do plan, as time goes on, to put more ships into that token field. So if the Baran is something you're really pining for, but you can't get at it with the tier 6 token that you just earned from playing a bunch of featured TFOs, keep it in your inventory, hold on to it, and wait. We will make the Baran and other ships available down the line. If this experiment with tier 6 tokens proves really successful, which I think it probably has at this point, we will be looking to run this event more in the future, which means that as new ships come out, they'll be blacked out from the thing, but then older ships will be, opened up to it that were previously blacked out.
Nice.
I know mine's sitting in my inventory right now because I don't know what to get.
There's so many choices.
There is. Well, I have most of the ships already.
All
and
right.
There's going to be, speaking of T6 ship coupons, because I know Andre would want me to tease this, and if he was here, he would probably just straight up say it, but there's a new thing coming next week with the summer event update that's very exciting, that involves tier 6 ship coupons and being nice to your friends. Just leave it at that.
Yay! That sounds exciting.
Well, I think that about wraps it up for this week in Star Trek Online news, unless there's anything else you'd like to share with us, Mike?
I don't think so right now. I think I've probably said too much. I'll be shot on sight upon leaving this office.
That warp core behind you is now going into...
It's going critical. I have to roll under a door as fast as possible.
Whilst screaming, coolant leak!
Yeah.
Well, now it's time for our weekly top tip. And because we have a very special guest host this week, I invite Mike Fatum to read this week's top tip for Star Trek Online.
All right. I'm gonna have to do this. So this week's top tip. Did you write this or did Anthony write this?
No. This was written by Jake.
Oh, Jake. Okay, so I just wanted to give credit for that. But this top tip, this weekly top tip is called Bailing, Bruh. In an effort to lend a hand to new players, or even surprise the most veteran captains in Star Trek Online, here's our weekly top tip. All right, I'm not going to do the whole thing in that voice. You're on Ryza. You've got a quiver of the best boards, and you've been hitting the waves. It's glassy, and you are ready to drop in and go off, bruh. Well, young grommet, the power board race can get choppy. Maybe I am going to do the voice. A common trap some of us fall into is overshooting the finish flag, chopping our first place finish into a runner-up defeat. If you find it near impossible not to overshoot the flag, or lag has made it difficult to time the activation properly, the simplest solution is to bail off the board, bro. Here's how. First, drop the board in your hotbar. To make it easy. Actually, hold on. First, drop the board in your hotbar. To make it easy, assign the board to the position in the tray that activates when the number 1 is depressed. Next, race your way to the finish line. Prior to crossing, aim your board directly at your flag. If you are neck and neck with another racer and are not confident you can pull off the maneuver yet, aim for the next highest flag. As you approach the flag and cross the finish line, hit the 1 key. This will remove your board, slowing you down but giving you more control of your character. Continue to move towards the flag if you're too far away. Step 4, hit F until the flag is yours. Finally, celebrate with an emote. I prefer doing the snake. This may take a while to perfect, but it will help if you have consistent trouble overshooting the flag. Surf's up, dudes.
And in other gaming news, go ahead, Kat. Why don't you read this one?
We overshoot the flag.
That's such an obvious tip, but I didn't actually know it.
I didn't either. I'm like, I'm totally gonna do that. Let's see. In other gaming news, Starfleet Command adds Alice Eve as Carol Marcus. Starfleet Command Scopely's open world free to play what's that? 4 times? 4X?
Sorry. Where are we? Free to play
4X? 4. I don't know how to pronounce that word.
4X. Yeah, it's just 4X.
Okay, thank you.
But I don't know what it means.
I don't know what it means.
Yeah,
X. Hold on, let me look it up. It's an acronym. It's a weird acronym.
4X strategy.
Yeah, it's explore, expand, exploit, and exterminate. The term was coined by Alan Emrich in his September 1993 preview of Master of Orion for Computer Gaming World. It basically means games like Civilization, Master of Orion, anything that you've got the big tiley board.
Got it.
Well, take away my gamer card because I don't play those games.
Or gatekeeping is BS.
Okay, I'll start over. Star Trek Fleet Command Scopely's open world free to play 4X strategy mobile strategy. Wait a minute.
Oh,
That doesn't work.
sorry.
It's too much strategy happening there. Okay. Star Trek Fleet Command Scopely's open world free to play 4X strategy mobile game has scored its first Star Trek alumni, Alice Eve. Eve, who portrayed Dr. Carl Marcus in 2013 Star Trek Into Darkness, is reprising her role
Marcus? I heard Carl. Like Carl.
I definitely heard Carl.
Okay.
Carl.
I'm from Texas, man.
That's just how they say it down there.
Eve, who portrayed Dr. Carol Marcus in 2013 Star Trek Into Darkness, is reprising her role as the brilliant scientist in Star Trek Fleet Command, with stories written by prolific Star Trek comic book writer Mike Johnson. Eve shared the news via Instagram video on June 18th. Star Trek Fleet Command is described as, quote, the first free-roaming multiplayer Star Trek experience to combine role-playing game-style progression and real-time battles with enemy ships, all on mobile devices. A fast-paced strategy experience, the game brings players unparalleled access to the Star Trek universe along with an epic narrative that unfolds as they travel to the furthest corners of the galaxy, end quote.
You know, ever since I've been playing this game, I've been seeing a lot more ads for this game pop up.
I see them constantly, and I've never downloaded the game.
It's just the nature of the beast of, trying to explore and investigate Star Trek gaming. And I have to say that the ads look way better than the actual gameplay. Which, is I know Anthony did a review several weeks ago. I think I'm going to give it a few more weeks and keep playing it a little bit before I give my final review. But I am just not having fun with it. The combat is lackluster. That's pretty big to, quote yourself as the first free roaming multiplayer Star Trek experience. I mean, I guess because you're Star Trek, I don't know, but there's a lot of
I think
there's
they
a lot
get
of
away with that
marketing
one because they say
wordage.
on mobile devices at the end.
Right,
'Cause
right.
Otherwise, no, we did that first.
Right. So, I mean, it's I'm not sure. It's not for me yet, but we'll see.
I will say I'm glad they've gotten a Star Trek alumni. I haven't played the game, but I see the ads all the time, constantly, and at least early on, their ads were stuff like, "Look, here's Steve Aoki playing our game." That I was kind of like, "You guys know you're marketing a Star Trek game, right?"
Yeah. No.
And last but certainly not least, Kat, why don't you give us an update on the Armada? Let me deliver that one more time. And last but certainly not least, Kat, why don't you give us an update on the Armada?
Well, this week, the Priority One Armada concludes its month-long 6-year anniversary celebrations. We've had a bunch of contests, and we've given out some pretty good prizes over the past month. That included T6 ships, costume, lockbox keys, tech upgrades, all kinds of stuff. But we have had a great month, and the membership turnout has been, wow, through the roof. It's been great. So we are looking forward to another 6 years with our amazing community.
Awesome. Congratulations to an amazing 6 years.
That's
Thanks.
awesome that you guys have had this thing going for 6 years. That's super cool.
Yeah,
I love that kind of stuff with the fleets in our game. Like, it's just the communities you guys have built are amazing.
Yeah, our community is awesome. They're fantastic.
Well, that's it for this week in gaming news. Now, let's open hailing frequencies and see what's incoming. All right, everybody hit stop on their recording and save this independent track locally, please.
Everybody stop their recording.
Oh,
You know-
I was singing. Everybody was kung fu fighting.
Oh, that's
Yeah, that's what he was singing. Those cats were fast
And it was a little bit frightening.
So good.
Oh, this one's going to take a little bit longer to export, I see.
Yeah,
A
probably.
little bit.
So, how's everyone's day?
Yeah, it's going really well. So, for those of you watching now, coming up at 10 o'clock is Mission Log Live. You can look them up on Facebook Live at facebook.com/Mission Log. And I will be filling in for Ken Ray this week to talk with John Champion about what's going on in Star Trek news and hit on some of those morals, meanings, and I always forget the third one, man. It's so embarrassing. Morals, meanings, and messages. Got it. So be sure to, once you're done here, to head on over to facebook.com/Mission Log Pod. I will put the link for everybody to come on along and listen to Mission Log Live. So that'll be fun. That will be fun. You'd think after chatting with them and working with them for so long, I would remember the morals, meanings, and messages.
Yeah, but if it's not your thing that you say every week, like, they're not going to know your whole intro by heart either.
That's true. That's true.
You get to that point where after you've been doing a podcast for long enough, where at the end of it you're just like, okay, thank you guys for listening. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook.
Mm-hmm. All right, everybody ready? Do we have a new track?
Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
I do indeed.
Awesome sauce. All right, and now for a very short feedback.
Oh, are we doing feedback?
Yeah, we'll just do the little bit that's here. We're
Damn.
not going to do a call today.
Okay. Let me pull it up again.
I mean, I'm okay with it, if you want
No,
to.
it's also 9:24, and
Oh, yeah, okay.
So I
Yeah,
have
we got it
closing to
here.
do, and maybe if we have a little bit of time at the very end. But I also want to record game print.
Yeah.
But next week we'll be opening up our feedback segment to call-ins So if you are in fact interested in calling in, let us know, or just call in. We'll post the number on this live stream. Maybe we'll have time for one. Maybe we'll have time for a quick call in. All right, you guys ready for feedback?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to hit the big red button in 3, 2, 1. This is Elijah. Feedback sync 1.
This is Kat. Feedback sync 2.
This is Mike. Feedback sync 3.
Feedback in 3, 2, 1. Well, Captain's hailing frequencies are now open, and we're ready to receive all of your incoming messages.
Episode 418's community question was, how did you celebrate Captain Picard Day?
Do I say from Priority One podcast here?
It should be .com. Sorry.
Okay, got it. From PriorityOnePodcast.com, Sean Newboy says, wonderful show, everyone. Welcome to Cat. I was playing STO. What else?
Mike,
Thanks,
what did
Sean.
you do?
Good.
Mike, what did you do for Captain Picard Day?
What day was Captain Picard Day?
Sunday. I think it was actually Father's Day this year.
Oh, okay. Well,
Or
then
at least
I
that
was.
weekend.
What did we do for Father's Day? We went. Wow, can I really not remember this? It was my second Father's Day, which was already weird enough for me because, being a new dad, like I still think of Father's Day as a thing I do for my dad, not a thing that's done for me. Wow, I am completely blanking on what we did, but I'm sure it was lovely.
Fair enough. From one of our patrons, Peter Archibald. Welcome aboard, Kat. It was good hearing you on the podcast. As to meeting at Star Trek Ticonderoga, As to meeting at the Star Trek tour in Ticonderoga, what do you think about Trekconderoga? It's August 23rd to the 25th, and meeting up on Saturday sounds like fun.
That does sound fun. I think some of the team is going to be at STLV like that next week or during that time. Is that the same time?
So
2
STLV
week-long
is the
Star Trek
first
road trip,
week.
what I'm hearing.
I know. So STLV is the first week of August.
Oh, okay.
And then Trekconderoga up in Ticonderoga, New York happens, I think, the second to last week of August. The last weekend in August, the 23rd through the 25th. Now,
I'd be down. I'm not scared.
I know it's like, oh man, I just might have to take like the whole month from work off that.
Seriously.
Sounds like a good plan.
Jeez, so yeah,
Just to be sure, take the whole month.
That's not a bad idea, but we'll see what we do. Peter, of course, we will keep you updated because I know you're in that area, and we'll keep everybody updated with
Can
respect.
I briefly say, it is an absolute testament to the power of Star Trek that people are willing to go to the set tour in Ticonderoga, because that's like a 2-hour drive from the nearest airport, and people are going there all the time.
Yep.
I love Trekkies.
It's really cool. It's
I'd go.
definitely, yeah. It's not. I find it to be a bit more magical than STLV in terms of being in a Star Trek environment, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the set. It's just like it's like walking into church almost, I think is how I described it when we went. It's just so spiritual. It's a spiritual experience. It's weird.
Yeah. Did you get to do the Star Trek experience when that was around?
No.
I did.
Oh God, it was so good.
So good.
All right, so I have to tell you about this. And somebody's probably already told you, so stop me if they have. But everyone needs to know about this. Everyone on the planet. I'm huge into immersive theme park stuff, and the way they started the TNG ride, they would bring you into these rows to line up for the ride that look exactly like the rows for Star Tours. So like you're going in through a door to a simulator ride, and it's like, oh, that's cute. And they start playing a safety video. Halfway through the safety video gets all glitchy and cuts out. They drop the lights on you. You hear the transporter sound, and then when they bring the lights back up, you are in the transporter room of the Enterprise D. You have not moved. You have been transported. Like I know how they did it because I took the backstage tour, but it was literally maybe the most magical experience of my life. Like it was just, they really make you feel like you were transported onto the Enterprise. It was amazing.
It was pretty fun. I took a friend who unfortunately wasn't as big of a Trekkie as I was, and she she was freaking out. She's like, and then Borg were after me,
God.
and I can't even. She's like, I think I hurt myself running away from the Borg.
My wife always jokes about, because there's that bit where you're walking away from the actual Borg actors who are coming after you while Starfleet actors are shooting at them, and my wife was the only one in our group who was like, okay, we need to go. Stop staring at the Borg. They're going to assimilate us.
That's awesome. Your wife sounds amazing. My friend will still never let me forget it to this day, how I drug her to the Star Trek game that she got really scared on, that she's getting assimilated by the Borg.
Oh, man.
Good times. I still went to the gift store and bought her some Romulan ale, so she was fine.
Nice. STLV last year, they were selling a crew jacket from the Star Trek experience that, like, if it had been in my size, I would have snapped up in a hot second.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I regret that I didn't get the opportunity of hitting up Vegas to check it out.
Yeah, it was the first time, and now theme parks everywhere are doing this, with Harry Potter World and with the Galaxy's Edge, but it was the first theme park type thing that I'd ever been to that, instead of being like rides that were kind of themed after the thing, it was really focused on making you feel like you were in that universe. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Mm. Plus, you could go to Quarks afterwards and have a warp core breach.
They were huge.
All right, Kat, you're up.
All right. Following our tragic transporter mishap, which led to our not going live last week, longtime friend of the podcast, Jason Smith, sent us an interesting photo in the caption, quote, transporter malfunction. New host of P1 is Eliane, end quote.
Yeah, so
that photo
Jason
was
Smith,
awesome. Thank you, Jason Smith.
That's a really good photo.
Jason tends to go above and beyond when having fun with us here on Priority One Podcast, and he did here. Let me just post it in the chat for everybody.
It's delightful
to see what it would look like if Anthony and I got into a transporter accident. It is not for the faint of heart. All right,
but of course, you mean at this point now that means we have to kill Eliane.
That's true. That's true.
Back.
Yeah.
Because we're Starfleet, and that's what we do.
All right, everybody hit stop. And export this one.
Alrighty.
That's all right, Jason. I will never forgive you. So, so next week, I am not while everybody's exporting, I'm going to make good radio. I am not certain that we're going to do a show next week because it is 4th of July week for Priority One Podcast, or for the not for Priority One Podcast.
Like
Priority
United
One is not
States.
celebrating for the entirety of the United States of America. So depending on who is available to help us edit that week on the audio team, then we will be doing a show or not. Which is why, friends and of Priority One Podcast, if you're looking for a gig to pass the time on, we're looking for volunteer editors to join the team. We don't ever give the whole show to just one person. We give segments because, as we've said in the intro, many hands make for light work. And that's certainly the case with our audio team because they're fantastic as they are. But to edit one show by yourself
is insane. It's so bad.
It is a Herculean task. It is a Herculean task. So if you're interested, if you
end up canceling next week, do please let me know because I'm in the process of trying to book you a guest host.
Oh, yeah. All right. You know what? Yeah, we'll do it. That's fine. Because I have off Friday and Thursday, and I'm taking care of my grandparents that weekend. So if worst case scenario, I will be editing the show. So
I got
Kat,
no
as long as you're
plans.
available. All right, so Kat's available. Never mind. Never mind everything I just said. It was all for good radio anyway. We're doing a show next week. We're doing a show next week. And this one's going to be for our friends outside of the United States. So
yeah.
So there you go.
So we'll do the whole thing in Espanol.
En español. All right. closing. I'm going to hit the big red button in 3, 2, 1. This is Elijah, closing, sync 1.
This is Kat, closing, sync 2.
This is Mike, closing, sync 3.
Closing in 3, 2.
Well, that wraps up episode 419 of Priority One, a Roddenberry Star Trek podcast. For more great podcasts like Mission Log, Women at Warp, The Trek Files, and daily Star Trek news, visit podcast.roddenberry.com.
But before we go, here's a community question for this week. If you could reboot Star Trek The Next Generation, who would you cast? Also, what are you most looking forward to getting during the 2019 Rycian Lolonot Festival in Star Trek Online?
Captains, you know we love hearing from you. Leave us a comment on our website at PriorityOnePodcast.com, on our Facebook page at Facebook.com/PriorityOnePodcast, or find us on Twitter and Instagram at PriorityOnePod.
Don't miss a thing from the Star Trek multiverse. Catch our episodes every Friday by pointing your favorite podcast app to feeds.PriorityOnePodcast. I don't like saying that. Don't miss a thing from the Star Trek multiverse. Catch our episodes every Friday. What? Every Fido. Catch our episodes every Friday by pointing your favorite podcast app to any. I have to rewrite this. Don't miss a thing from the Star Trek multiverse. Catch our episodes every Friday by pointing your favorite podcast app to feeds.PriorityOnePodcast.com. Or just do a search for Roddenberry for all the Roddenberry podcast shows. You can even join in on the fun while we record our episodes live on Tuesday nights at around 8 p.m. Eastern. You can find us live on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter. Just keep an eye on our social media channels for details. Sometimes I do a dramatic pause because I'm really thinking, but it's dramatic because I'm thinking, and I'm wondering if I'm going to say something else.
And if you're still craving more, be sure to spend time with Admiral Winters and me and the Priority One Armada. Saturday nights, the Armada broadcasts live to review the latest Star Trek Online and Armada news, as well as spotlight some of the amazing members in our community. Each week, we team up with you, the viewers, to earn things like reputation marks and dilithium. We regularly give away stuff, so come and join us. Follow us on all our social media accounts for broadcast times, and if you'd like to join the Armada, visit PriorityOneArmada.com.
This episode of Priority One Podcast is brought to you by our patrons through Patreon.com. Find out more and add your support at Patreon.com/PriorityOne. Even if you can't make a financial contribution, please help spread the word about the show and invite your fellow Trekkies. It's your support that keeps us going.
Don't forget to tune in to Priority One Productions' Guard Frequency podcast at guardfrequency.com. Each episode, the Guard will take you inside the universe of your favorite space sims, including a tabletop adventure played out by your hosts. And Heroes Rise brings you up to date with the world of Dungeons and Dragons. Learn all about the latest publications, tools, tips, tricks, and traps in less time than it takes to skin a wyvern. Head over to heroesrisepodcast.com to discover their secrets.
That phonetic spelling of wyvern is fantastic. A
How's
wyvern,
it normally spelled?
a hoovern and a werevern. It's probably just W-Y-V-E-R-N. But I'll look at that and say wyvern. So it's absolutely good that he wrote it out that way.
Thanks to our audio editors, including William Hardy, Brandon Parker, Rand Hurl, Daniel Stevens, and Skiffy. Thanks to our producer, Jake Morgan, for assisting in the production of our weekly show, and to community manager Shane Hoover. Thanks to our graphic artist and web designer, Henry Pomper, with support from Jason Smith of the Priority One Armada. Thanks to the composer of our theme music, Chris Watts. Thanks to our syndication partners, Subspace Radio and Trek Radio. Most importantly, a big thanks to you, the Star Trek community, our listeners, because without your ongoing support, none of this would be possible. Everybody hit stop.
Everybody hit stop on the recording.
It's gonna be stuck in my head now.
Yeah, that's another one of our inside jokes, because it just comes out that way. Everybody hits. It just sounds like everybody was kung fu fighting.
Yeah, because they were. That's what podcasts are about.
It's just not.
Everyone thinks they're audio entertainment media, but it's actually a bunch of nerds fighting for dominance on the internet.
All right, so we, Kat, can you open up the Trek It Out document again? Because we got to do the quick recording of our game print ad.
Yeah, hold on
Once you're ready.
second.
I get you guys have not been uploading to the Google Drive yet, right? Just making sure.
No.
I have.
Okay. The only thing I see, Kat, in there so far is... Oh, wait, I should refresh the page. Never mind.
Right.
All right, let me know when you guys are ready.
Oh, what are we doing?
Game print.
Check it out. Oh, game print. The Trek It Out document or the news?
The
Dang it.
Trek It Out.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm assuming Kat is taking Anthony's parts here, not me.
Yes, please. Yeah. I'll just throw it to you. We'll keep it short and sweet. All right, I'm going to hit the big red button in 3. I should probably open the document, shouldn't I? Ha ha! Hey, we have a new patrons. Mark, thanks, man. You don't have to. Come on, open up. Okay, I'm going to hit the big red button in 3, 2, 1. This is Elijah. Trek It Out. Game print. Sorry, sync 1.
This is Kat. Game print. Sync 2.
This is Mike. Game print. Sync 3.
Game print in 3, 2. Captains, before we move on to Star Trek Online news, we do need to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Mixed Dimensions. We've teamed up with them so that you can save 20% off of any starship. So that you can save 20% off of any 3D printed starship at any size. Completely customizable. Now, Mike, you've seen these 3D printed ships up close and personal, right?
I have one proudly on my desk.
Not what do you have?
The Jem'Hadar carrier from the Low-Buy store, whose class name I have completely forgotten, but with a Riemann shield on it. So it's got all these really cool mixing colors on it. It's super, super good looking.
Did you have that one custom painted, or did you have it 3D painted?
I had it custom painted.
Nice. I do remember you sharing those pictures on your social media accounts when you first received it. What are your overall impressions of Game Print's quality? I mean, you guys have obviously a great partnership with them. What is the buzz around the office with Game Print's designs, and what is the buzz around the office with Game Print's and Mixed Dimensions quality of their products?
I think Game Print has been a fantastic partner for Star Trek Online, and I think their work really speaks for itself. We shared all the ships as they come in, as Thomas and Rikosa and I and Mac and everyone has had their ships 3D printed and delivered. They're just, it's a really, really cool feeling to take the ship that you've been flying forever and put it into a real physical object that you can hold in your hands. But on top of that, like now, I'm sure you're going to mention in a bit, they've added that marketplace. So if there's any, if there's a ship that you want that you don't necessarily own, and somebody's already uploaded it for 3D printing somewhere, you can get that printed out on your desk right now. So that's kind of amazing. It's a really, really cool service.
Right, and the best thing about that library of ships is that you can completely rename the registry number and the name of the ship itself. So let's say you find a design that you like, but you don't play Star Trek Online, you can have that ship printed with your custom name and registry for that ship, which is a great addition. As a matter of fact, it's recommended that even if you do upload your ship, that you go into the editor on the website and still rename it to the name that you want because of the way that the ship is printed from the game. So that's a little handy tip for you there, captains, if you are in fact interested in getting one of your ships 3D printed. Kat, why don't you go ahead and jump in here?
Okay, well, with options starting at $19.99 for a 4-inch color print and the reintroduction of their hand-painted models, there's no reason why you shouldn't just add a unique starship to your collection. Customized just for you.
And as we mentioned before, when you use coupon code PRIORITY20, that's the word priority and the numbers 2 and 0 at checkout, you'll save 20% on your order. So, captains, don't let deciding on which ship hold you back from 3D printing a new fleet of ships for you to display proudly in your home, office, or wherever you showcase your Star Trek memorabilia. Remember, that's code PRIORITY20 at checkout to save 20%. And don't forget, with their newly designed website, you can explore the gallery, choose a ship that you may already enjoy, and just rename it to whatever you'd like. Just visit gameprint.net and start building your fleet today. And we thank Mixed Dimensions for their support of this podcast. All right, everybody hit stop.
All right.
Awesome.
I do like that you guys do no, we're seriously stopping. It's obvious we're doing an ad right now version of podcast ads. I've listened to some podcasts where they're like, ha, 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 that was a great joke, Mike. But hey, have you heard of Mixed Dimensions?
Well, look who's beside you, Mr. Fatum.
Do I have a special guest sitting behind me?
Just some guy Riviera.
Yeah, some guy Riviera is about right. Al wanted to come on and talk to you guys really quick. So let me hand the headset over to him as soon as this is done exporting. Did you want to have them actually record this for the show, or do you want to just do it for the live stream right here?
Let's just do it for live.
Okay, cool. So hold on. I will hand him over to you.
Did you make the thing that we talked about?
I haven't yet, but I'll make it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go. Here, scoot on camera, sir.
I'm only going to be like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello, Al. It's so good to have you on the show, on the live show. How's it going?
I'm on the live show. Yeah, I'm doing well. I heard you had a celebrity guest host.
We did, Mr. Mike Fatum himself.
Come up, so.
Wait, what did you say? I think I might have spoken over you. What did you say?
No, I heard you had a celebrity guest host, and I wanted to show him up. So.
So how are you doing, Al?
I'm doing okay. I just wanted to stop by and say hello to your and welcome your and congratulate your new host, Kat.
Hi, thank you.
Hi, Kat. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So congratulations. I heard your show. You did great. I'm so happy that you joined the show. It's always you did a great job at finding great talent. So I just wanted to say thank you for joining and covering everything Star Trek. Thank you for playing for so long.
Yeah.
Representing KDF.
Definitely. I'm still waiting for my D7.
Well, that's actually why I wanted to come aboard. We're going to give you a D7 today.
Shut up.
Yeah,
No
so
way.
I'm coming here. It's just like I'm working out with Mike. We're going to, after the show, you guys can work out account information. He can
Oh
send
my God. Thank you so much. What?
D7 for, but now you just have to say good things about us from now on.
I'm like totally dying here. Wow. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. So,
dying for the D7. Oh my God.
I think he's going to send you actually the packs. So you can choose either the D7 or the Connie. So you have to make a choice. So.
Oh well, I already know what I'm picking.
It's just easier for us to do that way, and then.
But since you play the correct faction, if you just want the D7, let me know.
But that's all I had to say. I just want to stop by and say hello and gift you this and it's a welcome basket. So.
Oh my God.
Why
Well, thank you so much.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second here.
But you've got
Hold on. I have been playing Star Trek Online since beta. Where are my deltas, Al? Where are my deltas? I'm kidding.
One's free.
Everybody gets one.
Everybody gets one. Everybody, no, Al, that is so wonderful of you guys, and Kat, congratulations on joining the team. And
all verklempt over here.
Well,
Excellent.
thank you so much, Al. That's awesome of you guys. That's great.
You're very welcome. thank you all for doing what you keep doing. And that's all I have. I got to go home. So I just want to stop by and say hello. And I'll catch your show in a few days.
Thanks, Al. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank
Safe
you,
travels
Al.
home.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Awesome. Well, that's fantastic news. Congratulations, Kat. That's fantastic. I'm so happy for you.
Oh my God! I know what I'm doing this weekend.
Welcome to the family.
Yeah, it's priority 1, which I can say now because I've hosted a show.
Yeah. Amazing. Oh my God.
Well, Admirals, that wraps up our live broadcast recording of Priority 1, a Roddenberry Star Trek podcast. Don't forget that coming up in just 10 minutes, I will be joining John Champion over at Mission Log Live on their Facebook live stream over at facebook.com/Mission Log Pod. I will be putting that link in our chat now for you guys to check that out. We'll be I'm sorry, I got to do like 4 things at once, and it's hard for me to do it. But I want to thank everybody for joining us on this episode today. All the new viewers, people, all the old friends that we've had here, and loyal listeners of Priority 1 Podcast. It was a great show. Mike, thank you so very much for filling in this week.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really a lot of fun recording with you guys.
I'm so glad.
Thank you so much.
Hopefully it won't be your last time, and next time I have a vacancy, you'll fill in.
It sounds good. Let me know whenever. I'm always down.
Awesome. Well, everybody, until next week, we will be back then on next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on all of our social media channels, including Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, you name it. And we're going to have another Star Trek Online guest host. We don't know who it may be, but that's the plan, is that another member of the Star Trek Online development team will be filling in for Anthony as he takes care of his newborn. So stay tuned for subscribe. Just subscribe. Follow us on, just look up Roddenberry, and you'll find Mission Log, Women at Warp, Daily Trek Files, Daily Trek News and Trek Files. Subscribe to all of us and stay up to date with the latest news from Star Trek.
And congratulations again to Anthony on the beautiful new kid.
Yes, congrats. All right, everybody. Until next week, say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Fly it, print it, display it. Break the mold and 3D print a one-of-a-kind starship. Your starship. With mixed dimensions. Right now, Priority 1 listeners can save 20% on all ships and sizes. Just use coupon code PRIORITY20. That's PRIORITY20 at checkout. Build your fleet and display it proudly.